Going on? You are watching and listening to Tags Live, aka Talk About Gay Sex, the live edition. We're here every Wednesday night on Hump Day. I'm your host, Steve V. This is episode 462, which gets parlayed next day wherever you get your podcast. And I'm, of course, joined by my partner in crime, co-host Kodi Maurice Doggette. How the hell you doing?
Hello, darling. I'm doing wonderful, darling. I am here living my best life. It's my boyfriend's birthday was this past week, so.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, happy birthday, Joe.
Yeah.
That's great.
Happy birthday, Joe. Yes.
Nice. I love that. Happy birthday, Joe. We love a birthday moment. Very cool.
I know.
Well, a little later on this show, we're excited to bring on our very special guest from Mistr. You know, that's where you can get online prep. Tristan Schukraft to the show. He's coming on a little bit later to tell us all things about Mistr. We have so many questions for him. It's going to be great. So stay tuned for that. We have got to get into some hot topics. A couple things you may have noticed that our Instagram account at TAGSPODCAST is not up. I woke up yesterday in Puerto Vallarta. By the way, I'm back in NYC. Happy to be back. But you know, when you do a show like this, Kodi, and it's called Talk About Gay Sex, I feel like the algorithms are not on our side. And
the haters.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it back. We didn't, you know, they send over community guidelines. I don't think we broke any of those. We don't have any.
I didn't show my tits.
As much as everybody begged and pleaded. So
I know, right?
Yeah. Anyways, maybe it was my bulge that I was showing in the Puerto Vallarta the other day. I don't know.
It could be.
In the meantime, follow me though. I am _Steve V. So if we don't have the largest audience today live, we do welcome those watching us, of course. I see Bryce, I see Doug. We have some more people joining us. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Ask questions away. We've got to get into some hot topics. And, you know, I just have to shout out to one of my current favorite artists, Vincint, who is making headlines all over the place. I mean, you love him. I love him.
Yes.
He was first discovered on a show in 2017 called, I believe it was The Four. Okay. And he is hailed by Billboard as a legend in the making, Paper magazine as one of the greatest vocalists of our generation. Ooh. Vincint is gay and so beautiful. I love all his new music. He has a current song called Romance that is really excellent. You and I were jamming to it earlier. You've got to check it out. He's going to be headlining Friday night at the White Party. So anybody going to Palm Springs White Party, you want to go to check him out Friday night for their, I believe it's Fluidity night. So it's going to be think be yourself, think ball culture. He's going to be the headliner of that night, which is going to be soulful. I love all his music, Kodi. And in a recent interview with The Advocate, he had something that the reason I wanted to talk about him is when the interview asked him, you know, why are you making music? What do you think's your impact? And he said, these are my people, talking about the LGBTQ plus people. Mm-hmm. We are constantly under attack, even today, more so than ever. And if I don't speak out, who's going to do it? I'm so tired of us being bullied and silenced. We're human beings and we deserve respect.
Amen.
The other thing he said that it resonated with me so much, which he said, listen to this. You're supposed to love yourself. You're supposed to give yourself grace and patience and glorify yourself every day because that's our purpose here, he says. We're only here for a little bit of time. And if we're going to be here, I refuse to be unhappy because of someone else's opinion. Really,
that's amazing.
And really amazing for a person of color. You know, we talk a little bit about artists all the time. We're always talking about the major players, how we all love them. We all have our favorite female pop star, but I love this new trend of seeing LGBTQ plus artists that are really making headway. I actually love Vincent's music, Kodi, like
Yeah.
so much. Just like I love Omar Apollo, who is also LGBTQ plus.
That's high praise coming from you. You love
Vincent
Omar.
said in the interview that he loves Omar Apollo as well. And so I just think that when we have people of color, when we have people in the LGBTQ plus community, when they're making statements like this, we got to celebrate them. So what do you think about Vincent?
Oh, I love him. And I love his music. It's given me Sylvester. He's carrying on the great tradition of queer representation in music and taking it to the next level even. And I love what he said about glorifying yourself. I feel like we as queer people spend so much time beating ourselves up and living with all that shame. And you just got to let that go and really glorify yourself and lift yourself up. And because you are amazing, darling.
You really do. And I think I was talking about it on a recent episode that's intention setting every day. And that really played into what he's talking about. And I think we're so hard on ourselves, particularly when we make mistakes. When you make a mistake, that's human. Just get up and renew. And it's kind of what he's talking about. And so anyways, check out his single Romance. If you're going to be in Palm Springs for the White Party, check him out on Friday night for Fluidity. I wish I was going because it's going to be lit. I'm so for him.
Too.
He's like my current favorite artist. And that's saying a lot because I don't really, I don't love I love music so much, but I'm very particular. I love Vincent. I love Omar Apollo. So check him out and let us know what you think.
I got to turn you on to some more. Have you heard of Alex Newell and Duran Bernard?
Well, Alex Newell and Vincent do an amazing single together that came out last year. I love Alex, and there's some others that we like. Of course.
We're music buddies, so I need to send over some albums. I'm slipping.
Okay. Yes, maybe we can get Kodi to do a list of his favorite LGBTQ plus artists.
Come on, playlist. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, moving on to Pornhub. All right. Sadly, if you live in states like Utah, you are no longer going to be getting onto their site. And you may have noticed this on Monday because state legislation, like State Senator Todd Wheeler, Monday morning received a lot of angry and profane-laced tirades from a Utah man who was upset that he could no longer access Pornhub. Could you imagine Monday morning and you're trying to go on Pornhub and you're so pissed off and you realize why, because your state has banned it, and you have to call your senator to leave a tirade message?
What the hell?
Basically, the legislation that Wheeler supported requires porn websites to verify the age of visitors to ensure minors don't get access to adult content, and allows parents to sue the companies for damages if they don't comply. That prompted Pornhub, from the busiest porn website in the US, to begin blocking access to all of Utah.
Wow.
So
a whole state.
Right. So essentially the whole thing about it came about when our guest is messaging me right now that that the correct link to dial in. Can you carry the story real quick while I give our guest this? Yeah.
So I think Steve was saying that the entire state is blocked from seeing Pornhub, and that they receive a landing page basically now and the video is featuring porn star Sherry DeVille, and she has a very beautiful message about why they cannot reach the porn site. And it is really insane to me. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that this law has come down the pipeline. Utah lawmakers probably have their own back door to, pun intended on that one, to Pornhub so that they can get their freaky, sneaky porn, because all those senators have the worst taste in porn ever. 2 girls, 1 cup. Hello, goodbye. And the thing is, the reason why this is so absurd is that I feel like there are always ways around these hurdles if you're diligent enough. And who is more diligent and computer savvy than teenagers? At the end of the day, it all comes down to parenting and you don't want your kids to be parented by a lawmaker. You have to instill in them what the ideals that you would like to instill in them. And I think that's what, at the end of the day, if they want kids to stop looking at porn, then it starts with the parents. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, before I give my opinion, I see you, Tristan. We'll invite you up to the stage in a little bit. Maybe Kodi, you can change his role.
Gotcha.
We'll invite you in 10 minutes and get you going. But my whole point about this is, so just a little clarification. State legislation isn't banning Pornhub. Pornhub has decided that they are not going to allow Pornhub in Utah because their whole reasoning is you can go to another site like Xtube, Xvideos, any number of other sites. And they're saying, why are you essentially picking on us if the whole point is to protect children? So that's number one. So their whole Pornhub is like, then fine, then we're going to just shut it off in states like Utah. And that's why because their whole point is having to show your identification card, your driver's license, whatever it is, they claim is very dangerous in so many other ways and could actually harm children way past what you think every time you have to go on there. So what they really want to encourage you, if you live in states like this, is write to your legislation and demand device-based verification solutions. Let me repeat that. Demand device-based verification solutions so that the actual device of people that are under a certain age, 18, I'm assuming, that those people wouldn't even be able to get onto. And that would eliminate having to put your driver's license or your identification card, which could open up so many other dangerous doors. And that's what they don't want. And they also probably, Pornhub, are mad that why are you just picking on Pornhub when there's all these other sites? Fine. Okay, I can't get Pornhub today. I'm going to go to Xtube or whatever the other site is. So you get it?
I get it. It's so Big Brother, though, if they for individual devices. So they just need to keep their nose out of our porn business because I don't want them to see my search history on Pornhub. I'm good. Thank you very much. Stay away from it. Okay.
Well, we're going to get to this next story because we had a lot to say about it in our meeting earlier tonight. And it has to do with, everybody knows about Andrew Christian. Well, Andrew Christian just came out with a brand new campaign and it's called Thick. It's gotten a lot of criticism online. It's basically like you would imagine promoting a new underwear line for people of a certain weight, correct?
Yes.
Swimwear, everything, underwear that are a little bit thicker, beefier, whatever. And I think it's very inclusive. And they have an ad that I believe Kodi put into our poll question somewhere where you can view it. Those listening can look for this on TAGSPODCAST.com, episode 462 to know what we're talking about. But the label has traditionally tended for stereotypical pretty muscle hunks models, but they wanted to embrace thick and this new range. Well, many people thought that it didn't go far enough, and they called it out on Twitter. They said things like, really, where's the people of color? Would have been nice if there were some brown skin colors present, especially considered the title this comes from, AAVE, said one person on Twitter, African American Vernacular English, thick. I did not know that. Other people had things to say like, and light brown people are all nude in an advertisement for underwear. Where's the black boys? Somebody else said. They can't keep these cheap ass underwear. So it really went on. Andrew Christian though, clapped back though. I'm glad he did actually. When asked about this, he said, we tried to introduce 2XL around 10 years ago, meaning this isn't something new. We're not like Rihanna's line trying to come on
jump on the bandwagon.
Fenty, is it?
Yeah.
We're not trying to, copy. We tried to do this 10 years ago. We're reintroducing it now. And he says, for all the people that are coming after, we did have Ben Resnick, one of the models in the thick photo,
is all the way on the left. Yes.
He said, is African American. I'm sure he loves hearing that he isn't black enough. And, Kodi, one of my favorite people of all times is Vanessa Williams. And she has always gotten that in her life, too, where she's never black enough. She is black, but it's both parents are black. And you are black and Puerto Rican. Because I'm sure you can relate to a little bit of this.
I've gotten it several times I'm not Puerto Rican enough or I'm not black enough. So, but that's neither here nor there. What are your opinions on this? Do you think that do you think it's diverse enough, really?
So I'm going to tell you my initial intention when I saw this, because I thought, really, first of all, Twitter comes after everybody. So there's that. I looked at this photo and I thought it had, to me, one of the persons in there looks Middle Eastern. I thought there was a person of a certain weight in there that looked great. I thought there was a younger person of a certain weight in there too. I thought somebody looked Latino. I thought somebody looked black. I thought there was I thought it was diverse enough to me. And I didn't even think of that.
Okay.
But,
I see what you're saying, and I think there is validity to that. But I feel like everybody in this picture is the same shade of tan, except for like the lightest guy, and he's just like very, very fair. So for me personally, when I saw this, it was giving, okay, we have our black guy, and that is we've met our quota for people, basically. So I just think that it's just. I think that what a lot of people are saying is that it's not enough. I get that they went there and they are putting in people of color, but it's just not. It's only people that follow Eurocentric guidelines of what beauty is.
I get it, to your point. I get it, but I mean, it's also not a person of color albeit we just learned that thick is an acronym used in the community, correct? So
yes.
They are maybe borrowing without even knowing. I think that, you can call out certain things, but I mean, I don't know. I think, yes, maybe they could have gone a little bit further. Maybe future campaigns will do that. And maybe he will listen to that and bring more into that.
He seems a little defensive, honestly, if you ask me. So I don't know if he will.
It seems a little defensive because I think he probably really was going for a diverse. In his mind, he thought this was diverse, but I think it does call out to the one black model that, oh, I'm not good enough, and we're now putting people like yourself in that spot, like hello, I'm Latino. Hello, I'm black. And apparently I'm not good enough to represent my community. You need somebody visually that really makes an impact for you. And then I feel like they would find something else to be picked apart if they got Raheem Shabazz in there. It's like, well, why do you have a porn star in there? I don't know. I mean, I feel like this wasn't, it shows different shapes and sizes, and that's what his company and messaging is really about. And to me, it worked for me. But I think we could get mad at a lot of different companies for this same thing, and we just need more representation. And I mean, Vincint at the top of the show is very, I think, a good representation. So I don't know.
Yeah, I just think that also because Andrew Christian has been, quote unquote, he's reinforced Eurocentric beauties of standards of beauty. So I do think that they're holding him to that what he was before, and basically saying that, okay, you have a lot of white people in your ads. So I understand that they are holding him to account for what happened before, and they're not really taking into account that this is him trying to grow. But he needs to, for me personally, I don't think it's enough. And I think that he needs to try and grow just a little bit more. I did put the poll for today up. It says, do you think Andrew Christian's thick ad is diverse enough? And the two options are, yes, I see all the colors of the rainbow, and no, they need more representation. So feel free to vote for yourself And we do have some. Is it okay if I read the comments on the side over here?
Yeah, read them up before we bring on our special guest. Yeah.
So yes, we have some comments over here, and Bryce says that what is better than a nice juicy booty? They need to add some color, and he also says I'm black and didn't even know that guy was black. That guy was black. Well, I mean, I know. He is also a porn star, and he goes by the name of Junior, and I follow him on Instagram.
But a lot of people probably don't know you're black too. And
that's okay. That is
maybe. I mean, so there you go.
Yeah.
You know, it's Vanessa Williams. She's got this her whole life. She is black, people. It's like, I mean, sorry. Okay, so she's not black enough. You know, I've gotten this for. You know, well, you weren't really born in Mexico, so are you really Latino?
Who says that? That's
People
not cool.
told me that before.
That's not nice.
And, yeah, so we've got to bring on our special guest, though.
Yes,
keep that conversation going. Take our poll.
Tags Podcast, aka Talk About Gay Sex Podcast, is sponsored by BetterHelp. Hey guys, a couple years ago I started meditating. In particular, I started intention setting. Setting an intention for the day ahead, like connecting with those I come in contact with, or being in the moment. I can honestly say this daily implementation has changed my life to direct and prepare myself for very productive days that are drama-free. Most importantly, it keeps me happy. You know, getting to know yourself can be a lifelong process, especially because we're always growing and changing. I'm an editor in my work life, and I utilize the same principles in life to edit my life, make changes, implement new productive behaviors. All of this has served me quite well. Therapy is all about deepening your self-awareness and understanding, because sometimes we don't know what we want or why we react the way we do until we talk through things. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who can take you on that journey of self-discovery from wherever you are. A few years ago, I was in couples therapy with my boyfriend because we were having trouble communicating with each other, as well as having some jealousy issues. We both learned coping mechanisms and, most importantly, learned better communication skills. If you've thought about therapy, then BetterHelp could be right for you. Everything is done online, and it's designed to be super convenient while working with your schedule. All you do is fill out a brief questionnaire so you can be matched up with a therapist that's right for you. Discover your potential with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/tags today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/tags, TAGS.
Let's bring on Tristan. Can you do that? Well, I
already sent the invitation, darling.
Right, good. We are about to bring up our special guest, who's the founder of Mistr. I'll read this right now. Mistr is the gay-owned and operated telehealth platform which wants to bring the number closer to 100% as they work towards the mission of decreasing HIV and AIDS infections to near zero. Mistr was founded in 2018 to provide free and discreet PrEP and long-term HIV treatment to all who need it. With states like Tennessee directly attacking and eliminating access to PrEP, Mistr's services are more important than ever, especially for gay and bisexual men, a population disproportionately impacted by HIV, accounting for over 70% of new HIV infections. And this is of 2021. We want to welcome to the show Tristan Schukraft. Hello. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
Good. I think we can see you there.
Yeah.
I know it's a little dark. I apologize.
No worries. Welcome. Oh my gosh. So much to talk to you about. I've tried Mistr myself. But before we get into the nuts and bolts of it, we wanted you to react to a new bill that looks like it's going to be approved in Florida that essentially would allow doctors the right to refuse to treat LGBTQ plus people. Now, they didn't really say that in yesterday's House-approved SB 1580, which the Senate approved, but what they are going to say that healthcare providers cannot turn away anyone based on their race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Guess what they left out? LGBTQ plus people.
Mhm.
So first of all, is Mistr available in Florida? And is this one of the reasons why you wanted to start Mistr?
Yeah, I mean, Mistr is available in Florida. It's actually one of our biggest states. In fact, we actually serve more Latinos than whites in the state of Florida. So we serve the whole spectrum. But, you know, I heard this when I started Mistr nearly 5 years ago, is like, oh, it must be really hard to find a doctor that will prescribe PrEP in the Midwest. And the reality is you don't need to go to the Midwest. You can go to Long Island. You can go to the Valley in LA. I don't think you need the bill to say to doctors that, you know, it's okay to discriminate. I think doctors discriminate already today. So it already happens. And I think that's the benefit of Mistr. We're live in all 50 states, DC and Puerto Rico. And, you know, when you're working with Mistr, you're obviously working with doctors that understand the LGBTQ lifestyle and everything that comes with it. They're non-judgmental. Yeah. So I think that it's terrible what the bill represents, but I don't think you need that bill to discriminate, because at the end of the day, a doctor doesn't have to prescribe PrEP if they don't want to. They don't have to prescribe anything if they don't feel it's right.
Wow.
So
that's scary. So I want to ask, what brought on the inception of Mistr? Did you like see a need that of a hole that you wanted to fill? What brought this to mind?
Yes,
Let's
yes,
get
that
into
was
it, Tristan.
Are we still talking about PrEP?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not if you don't want to. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah, you know, it was a while back, and a lot of friends were complaining about how hard it was to get on PrEP, and so I was like, it shouldn't really be that difficult. But as I started, you know, realizing, one of the issues that came up was I had a friend who lived in Long Island and his doctor wouldn't prescribe PrEP. Another friend that lived in the Valley. So these are like real case examples, right? It was the repeated doctor's visits. You know, PrEP the medication's always been free, but to get the medication, you have to fill out, you know, various forms. And if you fill it out incorrectly, just one box should disqualify. And, you know, for people to go through those steps and then get disqualified, you're kind of not going to go back. And then, of course, they want you to print it out and fax it. Like, I don't have a printer. I don't have a fax machine. So they kind of put these barriers in place to make it a little more difficult for people to take advantage of the various programs. And it's confusing, right? And then, as I said, the drug is free, but then the doctor's office visit every 3 months. There's a huge drop-off when people go to the doctor and you have to go back 3 months. You forget. You don't have time to go to the doctor. You can't afford to take time off work to go to the doctor, what have you. And if you don't have insurance, I mean, it's expensive. And a lot of insurance companies cover preventative. And there's another bill out there not wanting to cover preventative services. But even if you have great insurance, you can have a copay of maybe $25 here, another $25 there. And maybe that's enough to deter somebody from getting on PrEP. So, yeah, those are some of the biggest barriers: the repeated doctor's visits, you know, the lab, the cost of the doctor visit in the labs, you know, the stigma. Finding a doctor that's willing to prescribe it. And so we kind of eliminated all those barriers by introducing Mistr.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I was trying to switch at the beginning of the year. My insurance premium was going up and up. My copay was going up and up. And I'm like, you know what? Let me just go on Obamacare, which I thought, and I found this insurance that I don't really know covered anything. Now I was going to where I was getting, I think, prescription for a PrEP free. It was now $55. And I'm like, really? Now I got to pay $50? Then my copay was going to be $50. So I can see what you're talking about, where it can add up, where you're going to be like, I can't afford this anymore, the actual process of getting it. But, you know, you guys sent over a little known fact, I think your press department did, that said that, did you know that only 25% of the 1.2 million people in the U.S. who would benefit from PrEP are actually using it? That's staggering that only 25% are really on it. Why do you think that is? And I know you guys have a mission to get more people to end HIV infections.
Well, yeah, I mean, the last comment, I mean, that was one of my main motivations about starting Mistr, right? I mean, first time in a generation, we have the ability to get everybody who's negative on PrEP and those who are virally suppressed and those that are positive virally suppressed, we could really eliminate HIV infections. I mean, we didn't have that opportunity, 10, 20 years ago, right? But the number's really low. It's 25%. And I don't know why that number is so low. I mean, if you think about that, 25% of the 1.2 million, that's 300,000 people, and there's more people on Grindr in LA than there is on PrEP. So, and I try to remind people about that. Everyone's like, well, I don't need to be on PrEP because he's on PrEP. Just because somebody says they're on PrEP doesn't necessarily mean that they're on PrEP. Hopefully they're not lying. But at the end of the day, you should be focused about yourself and not really worried about what other people do, right? Yeah, I think it's the barriers, right? I mean, it's the repeated doctor's visits, the cost is a big barrier, the uncomfortableness about going to the doctor. And, we have over 150,000 patients across the US. So we represent a lot of those people that are on PrEP. And I think you got to make it easy, right? I mean, some people, can't get time off work, can't afford to take time off work, don't want to take time off work, just too lazy to go in. And I think that's one important thing is everybody thinks that telemedicine is something for people in rural communities. And it is, it's great, but it's also great for the guy that lives right down the street that's too lazy to come into the doctor's office, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Nice. So I saw on your website that predominantly Mistr is for gay and bisexual men. Is that all that it encompasses? Does it include trans men and even cisgender straight men as well?
Yeah, the whole spectrum. I mean, 18% of our users do not identify as gay. 2% are female. So yeah. Oh. And then as far as ethnicities, as I was saying earlier, like Florida and California, we represent more Latinos than whites, which is good because they're more at a disadvantage, or they represent more of the new HIV infections, the Black and brown community. 18% across the board with the Black community, which is good on a national average, but it could always be better, right? I mean, at the end of the day, you highlighted 1.2 million people could benefit from PrEP, but the reality is, I think anyone who's having regular sex would benefit from PrEP. But it is true, the CDC does say the 1.2 million. But I think there's an opportunity for much more than that.
Well, we should just quickly talk about the nuts and bolts and how it actually works. And like I said earlier, couldn't during that transition of getting off of the expensive insurance, and ultimately I got on a plan that I'm covered again. But I did try Mistr, and it worked so easily. Could not have been easier. I went on the website. I talked to a doctor that was very cool. Asked me. He said I ultimately found that I was a good candidate for it. That process, they got the kit in the mail. I did the prick, sent in my blood, and it all worked. Talk briefly about it, how it actually works, and then I have a couple other questions about it.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, you log onto our site, you answer a health questionnaire, right? And assuming you're a good candidate for PrEP, then the next step is you have to do your required lab testing, right? So we, 85% of our users choose to do our at-home testing kit. So it's a plain box that comes in the mail. It's a finger prick, oral swab, anal swab, urine sample. And with that, we can obviously test for all the STIs. So that's the other thing we do. We help people get on PrEP, but we also do all the STI testing for free as well.
So smart.
So yeah, so if you don't want to prick your finger, you can also go to an in-person, lab and have your blood drawn. And the difference about that is you can make and modify your appointment online with the lab, but you're in and out of that lab in like 5 minutes because you're not going to a doctor's office where you're waiting for someone to talk to the doctor. I mean, you're literally just going in there, getting your blood drawn, and you're out. You show your ID. There's no money, no insurance exchange, whatnot. And then no matter how you get those, your labs done, those lab results are fed into our system. Our doctors review those. You have a medicine consult via video. And then, assuming everything's good, a prescription sent and mailed to you free of charge. And then what we do kind of behind the scenes is we're doing all the back and forth with insurance, right? So a lot of insurance requires you to file a prior authorization, which requires a doctor's signature. We had all that paperwork, or they'll deny it, and then we have to file an appeal. Somebody's not insured, the system will ask a couple of additional questions and pre-populate all those forms I was talking about earlier. So, using your mobile phone, you can sign them, you can upload any support documentation, but I mean, everything you can do on your mobile phone or your desktop. So no printing, no faxing. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, in our meeting, Kodi and I were talking about it. We thought this whole process that you set out to start is so daunting, and dealing with insurance, dealing with the medication, dealing with the 50 states. And because we were wondering at one point, is there one lab that's testing all this blood for all 50 states? And no, now we realize there's different labs per state that you're working with. Like, can you just talk about the nitty-gritty part of how you set that up?
Yeah, so I mean, our at-home testing kit, we have multiple lab partners throughout the country, and then for the in-person, there's 2,200 labs that you can go to. And so, one of the challenges, barriers to entry is the stigma, right? So you might have great insurance, you might have a primary care doctor, but you don't feel comfortable talking to them about your sex life, right? So here you can go to a lab that's close to work, close to your home, maybe not close to either one of them, right? So yeah, it's easy to do, but that's it.
Beautiful.
Yeah, pretty straightforward.
Oh, and I have a question about how, I'm just really curious about how you are able to provide for such a vast service, because I was just thinking about it. You provide all of this for free, and it's so wonderful. Is it federally funded, or do you have can people give donations, things of that nature?
Yeah, no, we don't need any donation. It is subsidized by various government programs. And, a lot of the revenue does come from those that are insured. So 70% of our users are insured and 30% are uninsured. So those people that are actually using Mistr, I mean, it's convenient and easy, right? But you're actually supporting those who are uninsured to get access to PrEP. Because I bump into people at a party and they're like, oh, I got great insurance, I have a doctor. And I'm like, well, that's great, but you can do everything online, right? And yeah, you're helping other people at the same time.
That is wonderful.
Well, I have a question, but before we are live, and one of our listeners, Bryce, I believe, said, hello, jawline Tristan, you're a hunk.
Oh, thank you. Oh, you can see me, perfect.
Yeah, exactly. So we got to ask you, because I really feel like you were the pioneer in this early on, Mistr, but I've seen ads for a competitor. Anything you can say about the competitor that we've seen online that you offer on this kind of on offering PrEP online?
Yeah, we've been out there. We've been doing this the longest. We serve all 50 states, DC and Puerto Rico. They don't offer all 50 states, but we're really good at what we do. I mean, we, even though it's a free service, I don't believe just because it's free, it has to be like a free service as you might expect, right? I mean, our doctors are required to respond within 6 business hours when the labs come in. And that's the one thing is, unlike a traditional doctor's office, let's say you went in there and you had some side effects. What are you going to do? You're going to call your doctor's office, right? And then you might have to wait 2 days or, 2 hours for a phone call, whatever. You can chat online with a pharmacist. You can chat online with your doctor. You don't have to, make that phone call, make a new appointment, but you can schedule a follow-up appointment if you want. So, and yeah, we hold all of our lab partners, all of our pharmacy partners, everybody up to the same standard. I mean, the script comes in, it's shipped the same day. So
we should mention also that the packaging, when you get your kit, if you choose that route, comes in like a really discreet box. I look like anything else I've gotten, vibrator to a cleaning supply, and it came in my mailbox, so it was all really easy. So that's not to worry about that.
Very discreet.
Yeah, very discreet. Yeah.
Oh, fabulous. So what do you want people to know about Mistr that we haven't already discussed and that you think that they would be surprised about?
Well, I think you hit on all the topics. I mean, we're a gay-owned company. I mean, we started, our mission is simple: to get everybody on PrEP and eliminate the HIV epidemic. And I think together as a community, we can do that. And it's not just for gay people. I mean, 18% of our users are not gay. And it's very easy. You can do everything at home yourself. It's like masturbating, right? So.
I love that. Yes.
Everyone's like, now
and it's online.
Oh, it's online. Just like Pornhub, right?
Yes. Well, we love to give advice, and we thought maybe this would be a perfect Reddit thread that somebody posted recently that I think relates to what you do. It's entitled, "What if you missed taking PrEP for a month?" And they wrote, "I am sexually active with my exclusive partner and have recently gotten PrEP to make sure that even when we have raw sex, the risk of getting STD is low. But when I finished my first PrEP bottle, I missed getting a refill due to distance to the clinic and had to go for a month without it. During that time, I had 2 unprotected and raw sex encounters with my boyfriend, again, mutually exclusive and negative. Is it okay to still continue taking PrEP even if I missed over a month of doses? If not, do I have to go over the whole checkup process just to be eligible for it again?" And they really want advice. So I know you're not a doctor, but what would be your advice to
a lot of personal experience with STIs and whatnot? But it is best to get an HIV test. If it's been a month, it's best to get like a rapid HIV test. But I always encourage people, take your pill every day. I hear in this case that he didn't get his refill, but and I believe that even in relationships, it's best to be on PrEP.
Yeah.
But it's not, it's not the end of the world if you take a break. But obviously, you're not taking your medication. It's not working, right? It's there. I mean, it's 99.9% effective if taken daily. The less you take it, the less effective it is, right?
Right. And still, I'm sure the rule is if you do take a break and you go back on it, you need that 2-week period to get it into your system. I'm assuming that's still true.
It's up to 21 days for Truvada and 7 days with Descovy.
Okay.
So one of the benefits. So Descovy takes effect quicker than Truvada.
And when people sign up for Mistr, are they getting, which one are they getting? Descovy?
Actually, over 90% of the people that utilize Mistr get Descovy. Okay. And that is like the brand name, right? That and Truvada, and everybody wants brand names. So, but we do offer generics as well. But most people do Descovy. And I maybe misinterpreted your question, but just because you take that pill first day it's not fully effective yet. It takes a little ramp up time. So
yes.
Yeah.
Well, something that just came to me, we were talking about taking that pill. What are your opinions on injectable PrEP? Because I know that that's coming in the future. Well, actually, it's already here. And is Mistr going to be providing that as well?
Yeah, my personal opinion about injectable PrEP, I hate needles, so I will not be stepping up to the plate. But I think it's good for people who, to me, I think everybody I know takes a handful of like multivitamins or pills for this or that. So one more pill, I think it's just as easy to do. But for some people, who want the injection, it works. And so there's a lot of challenges with injectable PrEP right now. A lot of people say, well, I want injectable PrEP. The reality is a lot of insurance doesn't cover it right now.
I was going to say that.
So it is something that, depending on where your listeners are, I mean, we have storefronts opening up across the country in New York, Wilton Manor, Chicago, Dallas, San Francisco, and LA, or West Hollywood. And the main driver of opening these storefronts is that people can come in and get the injectable. So they can get the prescription, but obviously we can't administer an injection via telemedicine, but now you can come into our store, and unlike a minute clinic, which is now 40 minutes, you can come in 2 minutes, get your injection, and be out. But the biggest challenge is the insurance right now. A lot of insurance, you have to jump through a lot of hoops, and it's not clear if it's going to be covered. And so it has limited distribution as well. And I think a lot of patients don't understand that. Like, not every doctor, not every pharmacy has access to this drug. And then it's, unclear at the time of injection whether or not you're covered. So you might have to, basically, you get your prescription, and then the doctor goes through the whole process. You might have to come back a week later to get your injection. And then I think there's a lot of interest, by the way. We did some social media surveys, 80% of people want this injection, but it is every 2 months. It's not like a once every 6 month injection. Yeah. So that's important for people.
And what if you're traveling, you didn't factor that in? I feel like if I asked my primary care doctor, which I love, and he's straight, that he would be like, well, I don't have that here. So now I got to order it. Does the insurance even cover it? And it would be like, now I'd be waiting longer. And so, but I love those clinics that you mentioned that are popping up. So
yeah, and then that's the reality is like you think, oh, did I take it? When did I? It's like going to the dentist. I look at the injection as like going to the dentist, right? You know, you're like, it's really been 4 months since I've been here, you know? So that's the challenge. Whereas you take a pill, you know where you left off, right? By how many pills you got left.
it's the same thing with that 211, which is for Truvada, where you take it like dosing essentially. If you know you're going to have sex 2 to 24 hours before, you take 2 pills, then you take 1 pill 24 hours, and then you take 1 pill after that. But the downfall is, calendaring that and remembering all that, and I don't know. Yeah, so
it's new game math.
It's
and you all you want to do is get fucked.
Like
and
exactly.
Right.
And then people, it's like those people that go out and they're not douching on a Friday night. I'm like, what were you thinking? Why you could be at home watching Netflix. So I think it's one of those things like women take birth control every day it's not because you're having sex every day. You just don't know when you're going to have sex, right? So yeah, I just recommend take it every day. It's not that hard.
Last question, very important. Single, married, boyfriend.
I'm in a throuple. Very boring.
Oh, really?
Oh, you need to come back.
What's that? Good comeback.
You need to come back.
Really
we need to chat.
That's like my favorite thing. I don't know why I want to be in one too, but that's amazing. Wow.
Are you accepting applications for a quadruple for Steve?
I used to have 8 boyfriends, but they all got eliminated. Now I'm only down to 2.
Oh, okay. All right. It's like Survivor.
Wow.
Sorry.
Yeah. Very cool. And where are you based?
I live in Puerto Rico.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Wonderful.
Which one is from Puerto Rico, by the way?
I'm Puerto Rican.
No.
Oh, that's what's up.
I'm not Puerto Rican. I always tease people, I have a Puerto Rican ID, and every time I check into a hotel, they're like, are you Puerto Rican? I'm like, no, I'm not Puerto Rican. And the other thing I get, of course, is like, can we have a real ID? And I'm like, Puerto Rico is a real ID.
What?
Oh, right.
Oh, no, the erasure. I am not here for that.
Don't let us get into that conversation. We started political at the top of the show. Oh my God, Tristan. I don't know if you want people to follow you, but you can certainly mention that right now. I know people can follow at Hey Mistr, correct?
Yeah.
Mistr, but list what you want us to follow.
Yeah, I mean, you can follow me as well, T Schukraft on Instagram, and then check out Mistr and sign up for your prep. It's all free, and share the word. Share the word.
That's right.
We'll definitely do our part on this show. Tristan, thank you so much.
Thank you, Tristan.
You did a great thing.
I look forward to the throuple comeback.
Okay, yes, absolutely.
We're having you back.
Yes, we'll
be in touch
with the show with throuple, the topic.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you.
Nice chatting.
Okay. Absolutely.
Nice chatting.
Bye. Oh my gosh. I'm going to remove him from the stage, which I think I can do that. I did it. I didn't even say sachet away. Although I think he could have handled it. But
it's cool.
Amazing.
That was fun.
Very cool. All right. This will be on Tags Podcast, episode 462. Links to Mistr. And of course, our special guest, Tristan. So, all right. Well, we've got time for a couple more hot topics. Kodi, which one did you want to do? Because we kind of didn't get to a lot of our earlier ones.
I know.
But I think we should start with this one, the natural hormone or advice?
Yeah, let's go. Natural hormone, and then we'll go into advice.
Okay.
We can do one advice.
Thank you. Yes. So there's this natural hormone, oxytocin, that essentially is the hormone making gay men super horny. So the new study found that men who display hypersexual behavior often have elevated levels of the hormone oxytocin. Research was done in Sweden, the University of Sweden, and looked at 64 men with a clinical diagnosis of hypersexual disorder. And the results were published in the Clinical Endocrinology of Metabolism. Hypersexual disorder is when you have an excessive preoccupation with sexual fantasies, urges, or behavior to the extent it has a negative impact on your life. Okay, that's just all gay men. I added that. Around half of the hypersexual participants were enrolled in a 7-week cognitive behavioral therapy program to help them address their behavior. And they also gave routine blood samples for the study. So the study discovered that men with hypersexuality had almost twice the level of oxytocin as the control group. The funny thing, Kodi, about all of this is, what is it really? And it's found more in women.
Oh.
And the reproductive system and childbirth and breastfeeding more than anything else. And normally it's also called the cuddle hormone or the love hormone. That's often boosted when you like experience things like affection or intimacy. You kind of want more of that. So it's just kind of an interesting study how they took it and linked it up with hypersexuality. But I could see that. I mean, I spent time with somebody recently, just a little bit of time, and he was holding my hand, and then we were like intimate here, and I found myself wanting more of that. Like I hadn't had that in a long time, but when I was with somebody that I was found interested, or that I was interested in, that made me want more of it, and it lingered on afterward. And so I could see where it wasn't so much the sex, it was that
the intimacy
portion of that. So what are your thoughts on this?
No, I love this. I think that this is explained so much as far as my sex life is concerned, because me and Joe we're big cuddlers, man. So I think that I need to find a place to get my oxytocin checked, and if there's pills that we can take that we can increase it even, because I just want all the sex, honestly. So I think that this is great. I think that I'm just going to cuddle him more, and that way we have more and more sex.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you have to have your levels checked. I mean, this is an interesting study. I'll post this on TAGSPODCAST.com, episode 462. I don't know if it's a stretch of linking. It was a study they did in Sweden looking at hypersexuality, linking it up to this hormone. And I do think there is an issue with us people and men in general, where we can be so caught up in sex that it can actually ruin daily life. Would you not agree with that? And you can be so caught up in the little nitty gritty. We were talking about something the other day, normal PG things that guys do, lifting up a shirt, bending over to pick up a piece of paper, that turn us on. They're not sexual behaviors, but they're things that turn us on. So if you're plagued by that, like every time you come in contact with a man and he's doing something like that, it could screw with you, because you need to be like, I have to sometimes turn it off, and I can turn it off because I will be in a constant, oh my God, he smiled, he winked, he did this. And I don't want to, I need to get things done. I can't always be, you can't run and jerk off all day long. It's just not practical. I mean,
why not?
I was in Puerto Vallarta for 2 weeks nonstop, and we were working so hard every day with my own stuff, the show, but with this condo that we're trying to get off the ground. And it was like, there was sexy boys left and right, but I had to keep focusing. And I was good at it, because if not, I was going to get into a hypersexual mode. And how do you release that? And I don't want to, that's not healthy, I don't think.
To a certain degree, I agree with you. I think that I always say anything in moderation. So I agree with you that if you're too overtly and overly sexual, then that can lead to a detriment in your life, because there needs to be moderation, no matter what.
I love it. All right, moving on to some advice. I'm going to let Kodi pick it and read it. Which one he likes, because it's like a grab bag.
Okay.
Put your hand in the bag and see what you feel or grab.
Is there a hole in the bottom? Okay, so
maybe you'll get a big sack of something.
Why is my hand sticky?
Of oxytocin.
Here we go. I'm gonna go with, what are your best tips for flirting with men as another man? All right. Steve,
he's laughing because in our meeting earlier,
who are they trying to be, Steve?
Well, I tend to read things literally, and when you said, what are the best tips for flirting with men as another man, I was like, You're trying to be another man? What man are you trying to be? Don't try and be Bad Money. Look in the mirror. We're not all Bad Money. Don't try
We are
and
not
be
all Bad
Pedro
Money.
Pascal with his beautiful legs, because you're never going to be Pedro. Don't try and be Maluma just because he's doing a thirst trap every 2 seconds. Like, what man are you trying to be? Why not be yourself? Like, and Kodi like literally stopped the meeting and said, I think it just means men flirting with other men. And I was like, oh, okay. Let me take it down a notch.
I just thought that was so hilarious. I laughed for like 3 minutes about that. It was so great.
And then we got into it. Okay, but what are the best tips for flirting with men?
Sorry. And I lost the story just because.
Well, essentially, this guy's saying flirting is hard,
Yes.
and this person didn't feel like growing up they had a lot of examples of it. And you know what? I don't know that we do have a lot of examples of it. I think it's kind of innate, right, in all of us. And I think it does take a little bit of time to find out I think the early years of flirting for me were a lot of standing there and batting my eyes and relying on my looks that I thought I had at the time.
You got it.
And, I just think I waited. I batted my eyes and waited for people to come up to me. Now, in the last several years, I just go up to, you try and get somebody's eye attention.
Yes.
Go out with your friends is what I say, because when you go out with your friends, inevitably they bring friends with them. And I can think of a recent story where I was out and Jeremy, our co-host, came back into town, brought 3 friends with him. Well, one of them was adorable and sexy, and I was like, okay. And because of Jeremy, friend, co-host, whatever, at this bar, I put a little bit more attention of asking this guy a little bit more of interest. And he was reciprocal to me. And so much so that I said, we should exchange numbers. He was like, yeah, we should. And we continued this conversation. We're still carrying it on. And so I think, use your friends and tell your friends to invite friends, because 9 times out of 10, your friends are going to have somebody that you find cute, and use that opportunity. In other words, it's not like you're going up. I do go up to strangers in bars, but this is a perfect opportunity where everyone, somebody because of a friend, and show that attention to that person.
Okay. I love that. That's a good technique. I personally, when I was out there in the bars doing it, I agree with you. It's all about eye contact. So first and foremost is eye contact, that look, and making sure that you always know when somebody is interested in you just by the way that they look at you. And the second thing is, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. I feel like so many people out there in the clubs and the bars and wherever they're meeting other people are afraid to just go over to somebody else to start talking to somebody. You never know what can come from it. And you never know, you might even just get a friend, and that should be okay with you. And I feel like the more that you talk to somebody, the more that you know about them. And that's the way that you really have that connection.
And practice that in general. So I don't know if it was the pandemic or what happened, but after that, I started getting to know my neighbors. And so do that tip in general. Start talking to people in your elevator, when you're at the barber shop, when you are in the grocery store. I mean, just if you practice it in general with everybody, just being friendly, starting up conversations, it's so fun. I do this myself all the time, and I love the conversations that I have with people. Inevitably, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get somebody in there that's cute, and you can start. That's when you put a little more emphasis, attention on that person. If they're reciprocating, you're vibing. Hey, can I get your Instagram as a biggie? And then you can DM them. That's a little bit less if you want to. We should exchange numbers and see where that goes. You'll know if you're vibing with somebody and it's back and forth. Make that first move Jody Watley. I don't know if you know that song. Make that move. Anyway,
I think I heard that song before.
Shalimar, I think, yeah.
Oh, make that move.
Right now. Okay. So Doug, watching us live, says, unfortunately, the closest gay bar or club is 40 miles from where I live. Okay. Well, that's why I said I'm sure there's gay people in your area.
Yep.
And just start practicing it in general. I know it's easier to do in gay bars and so forth, but good point. Bryce also says, I like meeting men at coffee shops or bookstores. Bars, IMO, Kodi?
In my opinion.
Don't show our best selves. Alcohol is a bitch.
Oh,
I
always
like
show my best self. My best self.
Oh,
My best shelf.
Yeah, have another cocktail, Kodi.
I know, right? Also, Doug, look into, if the closest bar is 40 miles away, then look into clubs that are in your area that are centric to gay people. And if there are none, why don't you think about starting some?
Ooh, like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
I'll give you advice, honey.
Yeah. Well, we want to thank our special guest, Tristan Schukraft of Mistr, joining us today, talking all about online prep. We will list all this on Tags Podcast episode 462. We also want to thank our live virtual audience for playing along and chiming in. We really appreciate you. This show gets repackaged tomorrow, wherever you get your podcasts. And hang in there because we're trying to get Tags Podcast Instagram back. And we said at the top of the show that we were suspended, not sure why. Of course, you never get an answer, but I'm working on that tomorrow, so we'll see. But in the meantime, you can follow Kodi on Instagram at he's a life coach at what is it, Kodi? Blanked out. KMD Coaching. Sorry, I blanked out on that. You can also follow his personal account at Mr. Maurice. And follow me because I will list all things on there. I am _Steve V. _Steve V. And every other social media outlet that we have, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, at Tags Podcast, and we will try and get at Tags Podcast back up on Instagram. Okay, in the meantime, we love you and continue to have hot gay sex. Yes, love